Rev up your engines!
I can't wait to try out a Cybertruck, but it'd probably be a while before I see one. But here's this guy on YouTube, and he did a video, Cybertruck or Cyber Dud. And he says, Tesla's first dud. I agree with him saying that it's a dud. I wouldn't say it's their first dud. They made a lot of duds. A lot of crappy cars they built, a lot of bad designs. Self-driving that doesn't self-drive right. But got his hands on one, and he isn't associated with Tesla whatsoever. He's an independent guy. Is it the first Tesla dud? I think objectively, yes. And this is a guy who likes electric vehicles. This isn't somebody who has no interest. This is a guy who actually likes them, has been trying them out, right? Rather than being one of those hand-picked people by Elon that were employees or whatever to use the truck, this guy is an independent guy. His name is Kyle Connor. For one, he tried out mileage, okay? He said it went 254 miles, and then the vehicle stopped moving and put itself in park. They say the rating is 340 miles. So, it's a long way. 254. 340, you know, you're talking about a hefty percentage there. Close to 100 miles less than what it says. He just said, overall, he wasn't impressed by the vehicle for that kind of money. He even admitted that. He's tried out different electric vehicles. He would have rather had a Chevy Silverado or even a Hummer EV that he tried out. And that was supposed to be, a Cybertruck's supposed to be the electric truck, right? I mean, it's not really a truck. I don't know what it is. Space Invaders thing that came out of Elon's mind, who knows? You can see with that range, and that's what he got. And this is an electric vehicle guy. He probably took it relatively conservatively, and he wasn't towing anything. Wait till he tows something and sees what the loss of range in that thing's going to be. I can't wait. Now, I'd love, everybody's got one, bring it to me. I'll honestly test it out, right? They had a guy that offered one, but he wanted to charge me thousands and thousands of dollars to film it for a day. And I'm not paying money for that stuff. I want honest opinion of something from a neutral perspective. I don't have to pay to tell what something's like. So if anybody's got one there, hey, feel free to contact me, Scotty Kilmer, gmail.com. Bring it over. I'll honestly test it. Put my scan tools on it. We'll just overlook the whole quality of it, see how it handles. Hey, if there is anybody, please. It'll probably be a while. Heck, it took almost 2 years for somebody to get me a F-150 electric Lightning. And the guy there admitted, he said, I'm leasing it. So when the lease is up, I'm getting rid of it. It's fun to drive, but it's inconvenient having all this electric crap and making your life center around your vehicle instead of the other way. So, hey, but if anybody's got one, please, get a hold of me. Bring it over here. All right, presently it's freezing out here. Even in Clarksville, it's like 5 degrees. You know, no, it doesn't get that cold in Tennessee, but it is. So here's something you got to watch out for, and it's called black ice. Of course, I ran into it all the time growing up because I grew up in Niagara Falls. I went to school at University of Illinois in Toronto. There's ice all over the place there. Now, the reason it's called black ice is because you can't see it, especially at night, because you got black asphalt, and if you got ice on it, you see the asphalt, right? And you think, aha, there's no snow there. The road is clear. I'm going to speed up. Well, don't. Have weather warnings on your phone and watch traffic closely. If you see there's a problem up ahead, slow down first. You see there's cars sliding off the road, start to slow down first. And the thing is, if you ever get on black ice, one, you got to have good tires. Well, it's too late if you got crappy tires, right? Between now and maybe you get some black ice, check your tires. You got snow tires, make sure the treads are good. If you don't, make sure you at least got really good tires and not bald tires, because they're not going to work at all on snow and ice, right? When you see it coming, the first thing you got to do is just slow down. Take your foot off the gas. Don't slam on the brakes. The worst thing in the world to do when you're on ice is slamming on the brakes. You'll start skidding. Now, unmentionable happens, you're on it, and you start sliding on the ice. The last thing on earth you want to do is try to turn away from where you're sliding, because you'll slide even more. Just like ice skating, you know, where you start going to one side, you lean, it's just going to slide even further. So what you have to do is steer into the slide. Hopefully, you're on a road that isn't that crowded, right? Because if there's people all over, you can't go to the side. You're going to hit the guy next to you. But I'm assuming you're out in the middle of nowhere. I happened to meet once in Illinois. I was going to University of Illinois, driving down to Ivesdale, Illinois. And I hit it bad. And I knew what to do ahead of time. And I just took my foot off the gas and I turned it in. Luckily, I was on a 2-lane road this way, and the other 2-lane road was on the other side with a big ditch in the middle, right? I didn't end up in the ditch. I just started lightly steering into the slide, took my foot off the gas, and there was enough room on the other lane in the shoulder, and it was late at night, so there wasn't really any traffic, which was a good thing, right? You're often going to run into it at night. Why at night? Because in the daytime, if the sun is shining, the road is black, and generally the heat of the sun will melt the ice. So you got black pavement, right? But then, also unfortunately, when the snow's melted and the sun goes down, it freezes up again, right? And then you don't see it, and it's going to slide. So remember, take your foot off the gas. You don't hit either of them. And then if you do start sliding, steer slowly to the right. But if you do get onto it and you're not sliding, just keep your foot off the brake, off the gas, and go as slow as you can until you get by. Generally, there's only patches of it. And that's what makes it the most dangerous thing, because you might be going da 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 da, and it's all fine. All of a sudden, you hit it. Maybe the last 4 miles, the drainage of the road was better. And so when the sun melted it, all the water drained to the side. But now you're in a flatter part where the water melted, but it didn't drain off, and then it refroze. So keep all that in mind and watch out for black ice. Well, I just read an interesting article. The Texas power grid is on the verge of another fatal collapse. Green energy is absent. It's cold. It's freezing in Texas. I lived there when it was cold. We, for 5 days, didn't have any water. Where I lived, the water pipes were put in the 1940s originally. They finally fixed them later, right? But for like 30 years, there were these old pipes from a long time ago, 1940s, and they were like 3 inches under the ground. You know, they're supposed to be like 6 feet. They were 3 inches. So whenever the ground froze, there go the pipes, right? It didn't freeze all that much, but when it did, you got no water at all. It's cold and snowing in Texas. They try to get a lot of their energy from windmills and from the solar panels. Well, generally when it gets really cold, the wind stops blowing. As of 7:10 a.m. this last Monday, solar contribution to the Texas grid was 0%, none, because the sun wasn't shining. And of course, it doesn't shine half the day anyways. 0.8% from storage, the battery storage, because they say, oh, well, when the wind's not blowing and the sun's not shining, we got these batteries. Well, they don't work all that well when it's cold either, the batteries. So they got 0.8% of the power from batteries and 6.8% from wind. There are also some natural gas and oil, mainly, a few coal, but not much, right? Thinking they're going to depend on this stuff when you need it the most, it's going to work the least. I was kind of surprised about the wind, because you always think there's a storm, the wind blows, but a lot of times, once the cold front comes through and it's really cold, there's no wind at all, because when is it coldest? Night. What happens? All the heat goes back into outer space. Clouds are like blankets. The heat will bounce off, come down. That's why it's always the coldest, say, in a desert at night, because there's no clouds, doesn't rain, and at night, all the heat goes back into outer space. Well, it's the same thing when you're trying to get energy. And if the wind's not blowing and all that heat is escaping, you need to heat your house. When you need the wind, there isn't any. And of course, like at night, there's none. And a lot of people don't understand this battery storage stuff. When it gets colder, they don't work that well either. And of course, the problem with the batteries are, in the summer, they overheat and they don't work right. And when it's cold, they don't. It turns out that, believe it or not, batteries are like human beings. Batteries work best when they're like 67 to 73 degrees, just like people. I guess we're liquid electrolyte, right? We got blood. So we're kind of the same as batteries. We don't like it too hot. We don't like it too cold. So this whole thing of people dependent on this green, they're not going to be too happy when the winter storms come in. Eric's 4Runner says, my 4Runner rear axle is making a noise. I jacked it up, and the noise is coming from the pinion bearings on the rear end. How long is it safe to run it? Would be best to park it until I can get it fixed. If it is your pinion gear in the back, that's what's making the noise. To make sure that's what it is, all you got to do is watch my video, Finding a Source of Car Noise of Scotty. It's on YouTube. And you put the little sensors on the differential. And if you hear all the noise coming in the rear end there in the differential, then you know, yes, that's where it's coming from. Now, I've had people sometimes fill them up with fluid if it's low. Maybe it's low on fluid. Put that in, of course. But if it's full and it's warm. I've had some people drive them years that way. And here's the thing. A lot of people will do that because nobody really knows how to rebuild those things anymore. All the guys that I know that used to be good at rebuilding rear ends are either dead or retired. Because most things don't use rear differentials anymore. It's a limited market, right? You're going to probably find no one that knows how to fix it. So you might as well just drive yours. When it does break, then you're either going to go a used one from a salvage yard, which a lot of people do, or buy a factory remanufactured if you can find one. right? And those are super expensive. Most guys, it is a Toyota, right? And they're pretty good. You can get a used rear end when it finally goes up. But some guys will drive them for years. It stops going, then worry about it then. They can still go quite some time making some noise. Just make sure it's full of fluid. And if it's leaking out, keep adding the fluid while it leaks out so it'll keep it lubricated and won't wear any further. They normally make noise because they lose lubrication. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.